All right. Good morning and welcome to day one of Space and Missile Defense Symposium 2026. That's a mouthful, by the way. I am your host, Luke Dormany of the Tec-Talk Podcast in partnership with iHeartMedia for the week. Today I'm joined by Damian DiPippa from Auria. We are glad to have you on the podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
How's the weather treating you today?
The weather's
a little
fine.
warm?
It's similar. I'm out of Northern Virginia, so we have similar humidity and temperature as well. So.
Did you fly down yesterday?
I flew down yesterday.
Did you get delayed?
No, not at all. I flew early. That's my policy. Fly early in the morning before storms hit. So, yeah, I got here early, did some work out of our office here, and checked in.
I had several friends that were not as smart as you, and unfortunately took a later flight out of D.C., and they didn't get here till like 11:30, 12 o'clock last night.
A couple of my folks from across the country, both in Colorado and on the East Coast side, they left later and got hung up, and some didn't even arrive till early this morning.
Apparently there was some bad weather. I wasn't tracking it, but apparently there was.
Yeah.
Anyways, super excited to have you today. Would love to talk, of course, about the Space and Missile Defense Symposium, how you guys are supporting it, what your role is at the company, your background, and I guess this is a good time for me to let you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us about the company.
Oh, sure. Great. Yeah. So I'm Damian DiPippa. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Auria. I've been involved in this environment for 35 plus years, started as a young engineer back in the SDIO, back when we called it Star Wars, and the SDIO post Reagan Bush administration, went through SDIO to BMDO to MDA. And I was one of the early engineers sitting around a table kind of going, hey, how do we make two things kinetically kill, at 3 kilometers per second in subspace? How do we do, the missile systems, the THAADs and the Patriots that are now deployable today? I was there in the early years. So it's great to see, how that has progressed over the years. And then I went on to work large corporate companies like Northrop, Mantech, Task, led space and intel organizations for them. So it always had a missile defense portfolio, in my operations. And then since then, have been working kind of with private equity firms in this mid-tier range, building innovative companies, and one of which is Auria, which really we are innovators and integrators of command and control and communication systems across the space and missile continuum. And so we're developing tools, software and hardware, both on the commercial side as well as the government and military side for the command and control of satellite systems, antennas and tracking used for missile defense, C2, analog to digital systems, and then even tactical radios in the field for special operators to be able to communicate via SATCOM.
Fantastic. It sounds like you guys have your hands full.
We do, but we've carved out this niche where we are really disciplined disruptors in command control and communications and innovators of technology, really taking on the guise of saying, look, we're going to build solutions that are non-vendor locked, that are open architectured. We are here to pull together in an integrated fashion those legacy siloed systems with the emerging new technology, as well as those multiple fragmented systems out there so they can talk to each other, communicate, we can command them, and we can optimize them into the future with emerging technology in the future.
So I think one of my questions I had on here to ask you, you already kind of touched on it, but I kind of want you to explain, because I'm sure some viewers don't understand when you say, when we're talking about the shift from vendor locked or closed vendor locked systems to more of an open software driven architecture. Could you explain what that means to someone that maybe not so technical?
Sound like that? Okay. Very good. Okay, super. Yeah. I would say, one of the biggest differences, I would say, from the early years, what I was working as an engineer today is, back in the early years of space operations and missile defense, usually had vendors that were building the end-to-end system themselves, right? You'd bring on a large systems integrator, they'd have their partners, but they were responsible for everything. And typically that system was in place for like a decade or more, and you were locked. You were locked in with that provider, all the maintenance, all the O&M, and as technology changed, over that period of time, it was very, very difficult to pull that new technology in because that's not how that system was designed end to end. And I think that's a big change today in today's environment where, technology is moving at a very fast pace. We now have a lot of commercial providers who are now pulling into, the missile and the space domains and bringing their tech. And we've got to be able to integrate that more in. So customers today now are even looking to integrate that commercial technology. They're looking to buy things more in pieces, and that those pieces have to fit together. They have to communicate, and so you can't really, build an optimal system when you're locked in like we were in the past with, one technology over a course of 10 years. It's just evolving too fast these days.
No, for sure. I love that you harp on open software. We have to be able to get to a spot to where companies and the government are sharing data back and forth.
Absolutely.
Between all these different systems, and they all have to communicate together. They all have to be able to ingest the right data. From the AI perspective, I'm sure you guys are incorporating AI or agentic workflows or whatever you want to call them into some of your processes. How are you guys also at the same time from a cyber resilience perspective? How are you guys ensuring that these systems are protected but also doing what they are told to do?
Right, absolutely. Like AI and cyber, we're neither an AI company nor a cyber company. We're a command and control communications company. However, those are technologies we have to implement up front. And cyber in particular, when you're talking about like an entire kill chain from detection all the way to kill and all the command and control and integration in between, there are a lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of cyber vulnerabilities. And I always say you can't protect everything 100% of the time. There's just too many ways to get in. What we need to be able to do in our systems is identify what are the most critical aspects of this entire workflow, of this entire kill chain. What do we really have to secure 100% of the time, and how do we do that? And then how are we detecting rapidly, when anomalies do occur, when intrusions do occur, and how do we thwart that? Or how do we just recover very, very fast, as a result, knowing that we can't protect everything 100% of the time? Now, with that, we ourselves are employing AI technologies. We have a tool that we've developed that's deployed, within the Navy today that we also utilize in our satellite and our missile command and control architectures as well, called Centros. That is an AI-driven tool that rides in the background in your network without taking up a lot of bandwidth of your network, but it learns how you are operating your system. It learns how that system's working over time, and so that it's able to quickly on its own identify anomalies as they occur and say, hey, you as the operator, you need to take a look at this. This is a possible anomaly or intrusion, and this is how you can resolve that. And so those are some of the things we're doing in our architecture designs for our command and control systems to kind of thwart the cyber intrusions up front, rather than after you build the whole thing kind of go, hey, how do we bolt this on at the end and protect all this stuff?
Yeah, from the aspect of, you've mentioned that there's no new shortage, or there's no shortage of sensors, satellites, communication systems, and of course AI tools. Would you agree with the statement that the challenge now is probably the integration aspect rather than creating new technology? Because there's so much that exists out there, and it's learning how to integrate those great tools into the current architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really one of the areas we are focused on. And I believe that's one of the things General Gutenlein himself had mentioned early on when he first started the whole Golden Dome effort was, hey, we got to work on this integration. Fragmented systems, there's a lot out there. And so, yeah, that really is the challenge, because you do have still emerging tech that's going to constantly come. But we've got systems that have been sitting out there for multiple decades today that are still running, analog. Now you got to do the analog to digital conversion. You got to tie them in. We got to continuously try and get those timelines shorter from detection to making, a decision on, the various threats. And the threats themselves are changing at a phenomenal rate these days. And so, yeah, the integration of those, legacy systems with new systems and emerging technology, I think that'll continue to be a challenge in the coming years.
So you've mentioned some Navy work, some MDA work. Where are you guys really plugged into from a customer perspective, providing capabilities to the government. Well, where's Auria focused on, and where are you guys looking to get into? And what is the best work that you guys like to do?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we are innovators at heart, and so we are developing solutions and systems, but we're also doing the integration work. So we like to say, we are innovators from orbit all the way to the tactical edge for command and control and communication systems. And so we have software systems that reside on satellites and on payloads to do the automated orchestration of satellite systems. We have solutions that reside at the ground stations for operators to be able to operate the satellites and also do the command and control between sensors to the ground, and then even developing tactical radios and hardware, digital ground stations, tactical radios and mobile devices that are sitting in the hands of special forces in the field for them to do secure communications for their missions. So we like to reside right in that command and control and communications thread from orbit all the way to the tactical edge, and working those and doing the integration between. So our main customer for about half of our portfolio is U.S. Space Force, something within U.S. Space Force. We're a prime contractor, for example, tying commercial technology into the satellite communications network so that they can access commercial antennas in order to augment government systems to be able to command satellites. We're a prime on that. We're digitizing SATCOM, for the U.S. Space Force. That's about half of our portfolio. About 20% of our portfolio is actually commercial. We've got commercial companies out there that run command and control communication systems or satellites that are licensing our products. Some notable, vendors who are here today are actually our customers, as well as international customers. We have in Japan, one of the satellite developers there is using our operating system for SATCOM communication for their new geostationary SATCOM birds that they're going to be flying here. So that's kind of where we are in that perspective from a customer. Mostly Space Force, a lot in missile defense and missile systems from a command and control standpoint, and then on the commercial market.
So I think there's a thread I want to pull a little bit more regarding the. It sounds like you guys have been very successful in developing innovative solutions and capabilities, and I think a lot of listeners want to know how you handled taking that technology and the capability from an idea and getting it to TRL-4 and then a TRL-5, and then how did you mature the technology to where the government said, okay, this is at the technology readiness level that's acceptable to us? Right. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, we've done it in a couple ways. For our Centros cyber tool that I talked about earlier, we brought that up through a phase 3 SBIR. So we started we're a mid-sized company today, no small business in our portfolio, but we started with some small work, and we brought that up in partnership with the government through an SBIR that is now past phase 3 and is being deployed. And so that's one way. The other ways is we've laid up our chief technology office shop to really be looking and tied closely to the missions to be able to say, okay, within this command and control and communications infrastructure, where do we really see the mission need, and what do we need to focus on to help that mission need? And then we go and develop the solutions for that. And we can't afford to put a lot on the cutting room floor and let it die. So we've got to be very specific as to, okay, where's the return on that? Where's actually the mission and the use and how it's going to be deployed? And then we get with those users and really hone in from the mission aspect as to what would make this most beneficial to you. And I think one of the advantages for us as well is we actually have operators sitting at ground stations, working with these systems, working in the field that know how it needs to be utilized and where even when we employ something like AI, okay, well, we don't want the AI to run at all. We need to augment it in certain areas, and the user still has to be able to make decisions for certain critical items. And so then we'll design that in based on those mission cases. And there are some things that come across my desk where our innovators kind of go, hey, we want to do this. And I look and I go, well, where's the mission case? And we got to prioritize. Sometimes we got to say no.
Yeah. Where's the requirement? If there's a government requirement, usually Dr. Carroll, I don't know if you know anything about Tech Masters, but he's our CEO. He's 90 years old.
Yeah.
And he's very forward leaning. But he's always like, where's the government requirement?
There we are. And then I have the business aspects as the CEO of the company too. Sometimes I got to do the Shark Tank, put your Mr. Wonderful hat on and go, okay, but how do I make money doing this? Okay, great idea, great concept, technology is cool. It'd be a lot of fun. but can we actually build a business around it? And sometimes the answer is no, we just can't.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I got, you want me to start that now? The ad read? I don't have that available. I can just All right. We are just going to take a quick second break. I want to shout out the GovCon Cards app that we developed here at Tech Masters. It's on the App Store. Basically, it is a business development tool that allows you to scan a business card that you receive from someone at a conference, specifically, let's say the Space and Missile Defense Symposium. I get a lot of business cards, and I'm always spending a lot of time responding back to them, trying to make a connection where it is important. So you can use the app, you scan it, it will auto-populate all the data from the card that you scanned, and you can save it to your contacts, but you can also respond and text them with a customized text to their cell phone. You can also do it with an email. It will make a customized email. You get to set up the events that you're attending, and it'll tie all your business cards to the events that you're attending. And then you can also have your own QR code business card. So if you don't have a business card on you, you're able to pull it out and someone can scan your code and get your contact information that way. But look at it on the App Store, GovCon Cards, download it. It's free completely to the entire defense sector. It's a great tool that makes you way more efficient and more effective when it comes to business development and just general communication with individuals you want to talk to. Did you hear the question? Desert Island TV show, and where were you born?
I'm not sure the first one. The second one, I was actually born in Butler, Pennsylvania. And that's become very popular now,
wow.
right? But yeah, that location where the shooting incident occurred is literally, my backyard, over there. And so grew up in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm a Yinzer for anybody from the Pittsburgh area. One of my neighbors was a coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the 70s when they were in their heyday, and I used to actually go on the football field with Terry Bradshaw and Willie Starr and Rocky Blyer.
Oh, wow.
I'd catch kicks in the end zone, and so it was a great time growing up in the Pittsburgh area, and I really loved it. And so that's where I grew up. Now the Desert Island thing, I'm not sure I understand the question. If I only had one TV show for the rest of my life,
what would you watch?
Oh, okay.
We have to throw a little wrench in the plan.
That's interesting. It would probably be like The Big Bang Theory or something like that.
You know
right?
what? Retro, but that is a great show.
I remember when that first came out, I was kind of like, this is cool. And I kind of, grew up as an aerospace engineer, right? Early years, and just, that whole concept just kind of interested me at the time.
So I have one other question. Of course, we're on a short time here, but looking 3 to 5 years ahead, what will distinguish a genuinely integrated space and missile defense architecture from a collection of impressive but disconnected technologies?
Yeah, I would say the ability to be able to handle multiple threats. That's a big difference from what we had, maybe 30 years ago when really we were just focused on the intercontinental ballistic missile threat, right? Us and the Soviet Union, that type of thing. And now you have, third-party actors. We're learning a lot about UAVs, hypervelocity, glide vehicles. I would say, one of the discerning capabilities is our ability to be able to handle these multiple threats, to be able to defend the nation, and to distinguish between them, because they're each going to have their own unique characteristics, and the way that we have to then go and protect the nation is going to be different. Timelines are going to be different, our response times, and even the, whether it's a kinetic versus another type of way of disabling that is going to have to be different as well. And so our ability to tie all that together with those multiple threats and then continue to be handled the next emerging threat, right? Because as soon as we build a better mousetrap, along comes better mouse. It has to be an open architecture to be able to do that, because I've never seen the pace of technology change like I'm seeing today. And so we've got to be ready for that as we go in the future.
You're right. Technology is changing so quickly, rapidly. It's doubling, tripling. Right. But really appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on. And anyone that's watching, if you are interested, be sure to look up Auria, see all the great things you're doing. I'm sure you're always looking to collaborate with companies.
Absolutely.
So reach out, and we'll close it out. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.